Life isn't perfect, and neither are we.
Nope. But we know how to face our fears
And have some fun.
and talk about all the messiest things of life.
Like the messiest things.
Get connected to yourself, get connected to others, and get connected to the life right in front of you.
This is The Connected Life with Justin and Abi.
That's me.
That's you.
And you. Guess what?
What?
I'm sitting on a cloud.
Yeah, a literal
A
cloud.
literal cloud.
Literal cloud couch.
Yeah.
Can you imagine having sex on this?
It seems
No,
like it'd be a
imagine
lot
it
of
right
work.
now.
No. It feels like it'd be extra work.
Not in my head. This is great.
You
What?
just sink in, though.
No, what's going on in my head is great.
Oh. Fair enough.
You do just sink in. We are on location today.
Ooh.
We're going to soil our friend's couch. They're trying not to
laugh.
They're
It's
trying not to
nice.
laugh.
You're allowed. People know that there's people on
Yeah, there's
here.
people on here.
I don't know if it's like appropriate to come on yet, or you invite us to come on. I don't know what the rules for the
Give us the
podcast
go
are.
You quiet yourself, Brian. It's not your turn yet. We're imagining sex over here. Don't be pervy. Stop watching. Today we get to be on location with the Adventure Challenge.
The Adventure Challenge?
Yeah, the Adventure Challenge. And
Is that
and
their names? Of these people that were on the
We
podcast?
have no identity.
we have
Their
no
names are-
identity.
I'm Adventure,
One is
Ben's
Adventure,
Challenge.
yeah.
Yeah, that's actually.
They've given up their
Fairly-
names
Uh-huh.
to
Surrender
create a
them.
business.
So we have two really good friends that were on the podcast here today with Ben and Bryant, and the two of them are the faces behind the face of a company called the Adventure Challenge,
Dun, dun, dun.
and we're going to talk about their story, their journey. I have been really amazed at both who these two individuals are as men that I think have incredible character, and I love their journey of youthfulness. They keep connected with their childlike wonder. They're kind and loving. They're also businessmen who have done a fantastic job with their business. It's very successful by most people's standards, and I'm loving.
By lots of people's standards.
And I like when we look at success, for me, success isn't necessarily external things, although there's a version of success that is both finances, notoriety, that people view success as. But to me, there's a component of success that really matters the most, which is the heart of who a person is. And I've watched the two of you both in your life journey, and I see so much success in who you are inside of your hearts and how you relate to each other and the world around you. And I think that that's a really beautiful thing, and part of why I want you on here.
Wow.
Oh, that was so mushy.
That's a lot.
They're both crying, just so you guys know.
Yeah. Thanks for that 100 you slipped me, Ben.
That's all he gave me was 100. I gave Abby 1,000.
Whoa!
I can't wait
Ben.
to hear what Abby's going to say.
I just want to note before we jump into this that they have swings in the room that we are recording this in.
Oh, yeah.
So just to paint a picture, go ahead, Abby, paint the
Yeah,
picture
they have
for our
three
audience.
swings in which I was swinging
hang from the
before.
ceiling.
Hmm And then I did run and jump on. It is the most cushy imaginable couch and ottoman ever. They have a Pac-Man machine.
Miss Pac-Man.
Miss Pac-Man.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Not
so they're
sexist here.
progressive.
Yeah,
They're progressive.
Progressive.
Very progressive.
And it's such a beautiful little space here. You call this the lab. Why is it called the lab, by the way?
Well, this location was originally created to come up with ideas for the books.
And it feels very, very idea-ish. This is where I would feel very easily inspired.
Yeah.
Free thought zone.
Uh-huh. Now, speaking of the books, let's get into really quick.
No, whoa.
Whoa.
I just got shut down.
I just wanted to. One of the reasons that we're doing this podcast is because there's so much going on in the world that feels chaotic and out of control and discouraging and disheartening that we wanted to share, have some guests on to actually share stories of momentum.
Yeah.
And of good things happening to remind us of hope and possibilities and what you believe and how that affects your life, and to remind people that they're powerful. So because there's so much powerlessness in the world right now. Everybody's freaking out about everything.
Yeah.
And so the reason that we're really going after this now is to inspire people to believe, to work hard and to remember that they have power over creating a future that brings hope and life to them and to people around them.
Yeah.
That's good.
Now you can start.
That was better than what I said. I don't even know why I'm here.
That's true. I don't
Was
either.
that a real police siren going off while you were saying that?
Yeah.
Very fitting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very fitting for Reading.
Mm-hmm.
So we want to kind of jump into this, and we want to hear about what the adventure challenge is first off, and then we're going to get into your guys' personal stories and the evolution of your journey to kind of extract some of that hope and excitement for life.
Awesome. Yeah, we're excited.
Yeah.
Who wants to go first?
Well, what's the question? What's the first question?
What is the adventure
Talk.
challenge?
Oh,
Do you guys know?
Yeah. Well, it's.
Have you heard of it?
I've heard of the Adventure Challenge.
People talk about it.
It's a cool company.
They have lots of ads on. social
Yeah, you
media.
may have
We
seen
will
us ads
blanket
all
you
over
with
Facebook
ads.
and Instagram, Pinterest, and
Yeah.
TikTok.
And they're good ads.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought they were pretty
That was all me. I created all the ads. I also modeled in every single one, edited it, and was the genius behind
You
the
are
marketing.
so
It was
successful.
Thank
all
you.
selfie style with
Yeah,
Bryant
it
holding
was.
his own hand.
No.
We actually did a date ourselves for Founders Day. There was, no one could figure out if we were straight or which we are. But
To all the ladies.
Yeah.
Yes,
and
yeah.
single.
To all the
single.
ladies.
Because they're out there. They're single and ready to mingle.
We should give them like a phone number at the end of this.
Yeah.
That we
Oh,
can just
gosh.
start taking
yeah,
calls.
just put our so we have like blanketed notifications on our phone. Lovely.
Okay, what's the adventure
Well,
challenge?
I'll start off just saying, as far as what we've like siphoned it down into, what our mission is, it comes down to connection through disruption. So we want to disrupt people's routines, and we discovered there's I didn't discover, I Googled it, so now I can tell you guys. But there's a part of your brain that only lights up during something new, when you're experiencing something new.
Yes.
Novelty.
So novelty. So that part of your brain actually causes you to connect more than anything else. So what we found is, or what I think what a challenge is that everybody experiences is that we want security, so we commit in relationships.
Mm-hmm.
But in that, we end up not experiencing something new, and we
Right.
crave it. So a lot of people will go outside the relationship, they'll do whatever they can, or they'll just be miserable inside the relationship. And what we're trying to enable people to do is experiencing something new together. And I think that the format of the scratch-off book allows you to do that.
So explain the scratch off book.
Yeah.
Go for it.
The Scratch Off book is, it's a book filled with adventures or dates or family games, but you can't see what each one is because each adventure is covered with a lottery ticket scratcher-like material.
Awesome.
So basically, if you have the couples edition, you commit with your significant other to do a date. You pick a little box in the book, and you scratch it off, and the box tells you what to do for a date. So it sounds kind of cheesy when you just described the book, but that's where it was born, because it's actually like you're committing with your loved one to do a date, and you have no idea what you're getting into until you actually scratch it off.
Could you give an example?
Well, just real quick, you also have a spot where you put the Polaroid picture and you journal.
So you
It's
get
a great
pictures
keepsake.
of your
It ends up-
experience.
So each
and
book
so
comes
there's
with
an
a Polaroid
encounter.
camera. Yeah.
Comes with a Polaroid camera?
Yeah, so each book comes with a
Rad.
Polaroid camera. It instantly prints the picture after you take
Well,
it.
if you pay for that.
If you
version.
pay for
can
that.
get the book by yourself. But
Yeah. And then the book has a little spot to put the picture and like journal about the date after you're done. So
That's really cool because when you're done, you actually have this history that you've wrapped together in all of this experience. And it's not just lost in the phone somewhere where it's like, oh yeah, snap. But there was this like deliberate experiences that were created for you, especially for a lot of people, they don't know how to create experiences.
Yeah.
Or just kind of like Netflix and chill. This is all of a sudden an opportunity to create, like you said, like it is the adventure. It's to create an adventure and then to create lasting memories and bond through it.
And
connect.
it's really awesome because if you date somebody and then break up, you have a tangible book to burn.
yeah, that's actually a great ritual. All right, time to burn another one.
Yep, exactly.
What were you going to say?
Well, I was going to say that, like, okay, so it does sound, it sounds funny. It's just a scratch-off book with stuff in it. But what it actually enables is pretty crazy. And the first time that Bryant told me the idea that he had, I was was really excited. I was completely sold on the idea. I wanted one for myself. At the time, he was only talking about, it was for friends, a group of friends, which to me sounded fun for me, but it's not as relevant to a large audience maybe. But the concept is you have something that's out of the box to do in that square. And you don't know what you're going to do until you scratch it off. And the reason that's great to me is because you already commit to it.
Right. And it shatters control.
It shatters control, exactly. And it gives you permission. So I used to love the movie
Patch Adams.
Yeah, Patch Adams. Mm-hmm. I loved it because he did that. He had that whole season where he was going through doing like social experiments where he'd do something that was unexpected.
Right.
He just like say something that's out of the box to somebody as they're going by, and it just takes somebody out of their norm. And what I loved about this is it felt there's something about it that felt similar in that you're just doing something that you wouldn't normally do.
Yeah.
And if you just had a book of out of the ordinary little things to do listed for you, you just wouldn't do them.
You would decide if you wanted to or not.
And you decide not to do
edit.
Almost all of them.
Yes,
right?
because you could think about it ahead of time and you could talk yourself out of it.
Yeah. And so what I love is that you literally are committing before you do it. And so it a lot of times it's not that you don't want to do something, it's that you feel like you maybe be a little silly to do it or something like that. And so there's also something about this that I like, that it gives you permission. Yeah.
Yeah.
It gives you permission to do something that you would kind of want to do, but you might be like, oh, that might be, you might feel a little strange doing it or something like that. Not that all of our things are embarrassing to do, but a lot of them are just super cute, especially with the couples edition. But
could you give just one example, not of something in the book, but the kind of things
that we have them do in the book?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, one of the dates I actually just saw the other day online, a couple was doing where you have to go to 3 different restaurants. In each restaurant, you have to have a different name and use a different accent.
Yes.
And so, like the first restaurant, you go and you order an appetizer,
yes,
and you have to speak in like an Australian accent.
Yes.
The second one, you order your entree, and the third one, you order your dessert. And it's really funny to see people do these because, like, they would never do this normally, And if they were reading a book that said, you should try this for a date, they would never do it. But yeah, the scratching is like the buy-in.
Yep.
They scratch it off, they do that. And we see these couples doing these dates and they're like, that was so awkward, yet so fun. And they're telling their friends about it. They'll never forget it. So it's
you bond in vulnerability and trauma.
Mm-hmm. The trauma. Yeah.
You do.
You do.
Like think something that's out of your comfort zone. I'm laughing
Trauma
at that
bond.
one because we would do that and my accent would be the same for all 3.
She has
I have
one
one made up accent.
for
Which
every
accent?
single-
Which accent is
It's
that?
not a accent. It's all of them combined.
Let me do Irish for you.
Yeah.
Hey, mate.
Hi, Mike.
No, because I couldn't even do an Australian for an Irish. It's just one mega accent that includes all of them.
I really want to
a
hear this
jumble.
accent.
Can you do it now?
No, I'll try
Bummer.
to think it through and add it into this sometime.
Yeah, I was reading through a bunch of testimonials the other day, and it was amazing how many people say that this is, just completely brought the butterflies back. It's completely made date night something completely different for them, and they're suddenly more in love. All these things.
I was looking up some of those testimonials. I actually have one here. Do you mind if I share it?
Yeah, go for it.
So I'd seen this, and Leslie here says this. I got mine a few weeks ago. We call Sundays Adventure Day now. Every Sunday, 3 so far, we have done a challenge as a couple. I'll be honest, we were struggling in our marriage. Routine was killing us, and we've been in the edge. This adventure book I ordered the family, the couples, and the camera pack has allowed us to bond in a different way. The spark is already back, and I feel butterflies again. We're excited to wake up on Sunday mornings and scratch off the next date. This is amazing. Thank you. Just thank you.
That's amazing.
That's awesome because it is a practical way to restore connection, like right there. Butterflies again in a marriage that's going, we're struggling here. We don't know how to connect. That's incredible.
Yeah,
guys.
and I think people forget how much fun buoys you in life. So when we're really stressed, when there's a lot of anxiety, fun is normally the first thing we throw out the window. We think we need to get like more serious.
Yep.
We got to focus more on things. And fun is actually the thing that is the glue. I say that like in our marriage, that fun is what has gotten us through the hard things.
Justin says the opposite.
It's a serious topic.
What's the opposite of fun?
Serious
Fun
stuff.
is the sticky thing that held us together.
And some people literally don't know how to have fun. I get
Yeah.
that question a lot. And so it's really fun to have a guideline for fun.
Yeah.
But so it's an amazing thing. We love it. Obviously, this is the connected life. We love things that are bridging connection.
Yep.
They actually say that there's 2 human desires that every human has, and one is for safety and one is for adventure. And
Wow.
the 2 of those are always at odds because we are craving for security and stability. So we want a partner that we have forever. But then we also need new and fresh and engaging. So I loved what you said about that connection lights up a different part of your brain because we are always needing. And then there's those people who have they just run after all adventure and they have no stability. And
Right.
and fulfillment is really found when you can figure out how to hold on to both.
Yep.
Is what they
A
say.
beautiful balance. Now, there's something that's unique. You two are partners in this, and you both have brought this thing together in your different strengths and stuff like that. And I want to talk a little bit about that because I know, Bryant, you originally came up with the idea and stuff like that. We're going to kind of get into the foundations of that and what you brought into the company too, and how you guys kind of brought that into relationship and melded it together to throw each other forward. And there's a lot that has to come into partnership, and I want to get into partnership as well. But I want to start with your guys' beginnings. How did you guys meet? How did you guys connect?
Was it love at first sight?
Oh, yeah.
For me, Bryant took a little bit longer. I was completely not just
That
kidding.
Yeah.
was completely smitten.
He thought I sounded like Obama when he first met me. I thought he was a douchebag when I first met him.
Did you really?
Yeah. Well, there was no evidence of him being a dick, but I don't know. He just maybe I just
Completely zero.
stereotyped
You
him because
did.
he was just a big buff guy, and
Those are the
back
worst.
I'm not. So I'm just like,
He
what a
has
dick.
those abs. You just want to rub your face again.
Yeah. Not just want to.
Yeah.
I have.
I have.
That's why I became partners with him.
Exactly.
That's what
Not just
changed.
business partners. Yeah.
Okay, so you stereotyped him, and how did you guys meet?
It was actually at a conservatory for acting.
Yeah.
Okay, so you guys were both acting.
Yeah, we were at basically a ground level. We were the guinea pigs at a new conservatory. And I had already been. I had a business that I had been running for like 7-8 years before that.
What kind of business?
It was just a kind of financial business.
Why are you saying just?
Because it was boring.
I think it's
I
a
did it out of
valuable
necessity.
part of the story.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was super valuable, and I definitely don't discount everything that I went through. It's just it was not as fun. It was a debt relief business, and we did sales over the phone. So I've always my strength has always been sales. I had lots of sales jobs, and
It was because of those abs, huh?
yeah, I would I would send pictures over the phone. of my abs.
Sell those
You want
things.
to work with
Yeah.
us? Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
You want some debt relief? Look at those abs.
right, yeah. No, it was in learning sales. I would say that was the beginning for me was learning sales from other companies that I worked at that just taught me the dynamics of sales, and a lot of them are very similar to even relationship with sales, because to me it's all about listening. It's all about understanding what somebody needs and wants, and literally being able to when it comes time for that decision, to make them feel safe and understand that, yeah, this is something that you want and that you need. And so there's a lot of concepts around sales that really help you in relationship as well.
That's really cool. So you suddenly decided, I have to act.
You're like,
I'm bored. I
I
have to
hate
act.
debt relief. Get me out of here.
The
Put me on screen. I'm handsome.
Yeah.
the company had been going for
Everyone's gonna be Facebooking or Instagramming. Who is these people? What do they really look like?
Yeah.
Right. Oh, it's not true. He's not. No, but the company got to the point where it could kind of run itself, and so I wanted a change. I'd always really loved acting, and I loved the whole concept of acting, that where a lot of people, the very best actors, and there was a lady named Diane Venora that kind of taught me this. She said the best actors are more themselves while they're acting than they are when they're not. Like she did scenes with Al Pacino, and she said you will see the authentic Al Pacino more in a scene than you will when he's not in a scene. Because when he's not in a scene, he has to be the image of Al Pacino. When he's in a scene, he gets to just be raw and be himself. And so I love the opportunity.
Sounds pretty tragic for actors.
No, it's tragic for
you only
for
get to be yourself on screen.
I mean, he could be himself,
No,
but he
I'm
just
totally
wasn't brave enough to
joking.
do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, now I'm throwing him under the bus. But yeah, so it was. I loved acting. I loved all those concepts, and I wanted to throw myself into discomfort. I wanted to throw myself into something
I love
new.
that, yeah.
And so I felt like even if it's not going to be a successful, long-term endeavor or anything like that, I said I just want to throw myself into something that will make me uncomfortable.
That's great.
That can make me grow, and so.
And I think that we've seen that be like the beginning of success for a lot of people is
Absolutely.
I'm running after fear. I'm not going to stay in my comfortable life.
I'm going to risk. I'm going to learn how to come alive and be. Yeah. What about you, Bryant? What was kind of your lead into acting over there? And
it was also because of your good looks.
Yeah.
Like, I got to use this.
Exactly. Yeah, I got to
Charming
monetize
smile.
this somehow.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I moved up to, I had lived in San Francisco and LA for a couple of years. And so I was pursuing acting, auditioning, doing like commercial work, indie film, just
Love it.
nothing that I really enjoyed doing. But it was, it was fun. I enjoyed the experience. When I heard that BCA was being created, the conservatory school, I was like, I really want to be a part of that somehow. So I actually didn't come up to do the school full time. I was just going to volunteer for, the dean of the school and just be part of a startup, be part of something new.
Love that.
And, when I moved up, he was like, hey, I think you should do the acting school. I think you should be, a first-year student with everybody. So a week before the school started, I committed to joining.
Wow.
And so, I I literally started the school. And, yeah, it was life-changing in ways I didn't expect. It wasn't what I expected as far as the actual acting training, but the connections we built there, obviously that's where I met Ben, and just the creativity that was fostered there was just something that was super beautiful. So yeah, I loved it.
What I love about this story is that what you are doing now doesn't directly look like it's linked to that. So some people will step into parts of their story where they feel led to inside of their heart, and they go, well, I guess I have to be an actor long term. And it's like, no, you don't. Do you feel called for this next moment to step into this thing that feels like a yes inside of you? You don't know how it's going to play out.
You don't know what it'll lead to.
It's so true.
And a lot of people get stuck inside of their fear and they get stuck in their reservations of their logic of like, what does this have to be unto? And when you guys let go of control and just said, I just want to explore this, let's go on this journey. Yeah. It led to
I think it just goes back to having fun. Like people, I get different people who are like, I have these dreams to be an entrepreneur, or I want to pursue acting and I don't really know how to get started. And it's like, what sounds like a fun first step you can take? Because you just start taking the fun steps and then you start to see momentum build, and those fun steps will start to lead you to what you're passionate about. And so for me, acting just always sounded like fun. It's something that I just really enjoy doing. And yeah, there's an aspect of me that comes alive on camera that doesn't come alive outside of it. Like there's just something about storytelling with yourself that is just, it's my favorite expression of art. But yeah, it wasn't, I didn't have this ambitious goal of I want to be a movie star and go, conquer Hollywood. It was like, this is so much fun and it makes my heart come alive. So I'm going to actually just go and pursue that. And that's also how the Adventure Challenge started. It was, I want this book for myself and my friends. I'm going to make it. And then, obviously a company was birthed from that. But
so it's, I don't have an agenda to get somewhere. It's I'm engaging what is present right now.
Yes.
Okay. So tell us how the idea came to you and what was happening.
So the original idea came to me 6 or 7 years ago. I was doing ministry school here in Reading, and I was hanging out with a group of friends, and we didn't know what to do. Everyone was like, I don't know, what do you want to do? Let's play a board game. Let's watch Netflix. Let's go to a bar. And,
Right.
And
those are basically the three options every human does every time they hang out.
Movie night, bar, or game night.
Yeah.
And I have really bad ADHD. So it's hard for me to sit down and focus on like a board game or do the same thing over and over again.
I can vouch for that.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. And so I remember that night I was with these friends, and I was getting so frustrated because I was like, guys, let's do something crazy or new. Let's do something we've never done before. They're like, no, that doesn't sound fun. So I literally leave the house pretty pissed off, jump on my motorcycle, drive to Heavenly Donuts at 2 a.m. here in Reading, get a donut. I'm sitting on my motorcycle and I'm like, man, I wish there was something that, like a book or a game that you could play that forced you to do something new every time you played it. And I was like, oh, that'd be a fun book that you like have to roll some dice.
My friends be fun.
Yeah,
with
I
me.
could force them into something new every single time. And so I had the concept then. It was like, maybe I make a book, you roll the dice, you open the book on the page, and you have to do whatever's on that page. So that's when the original idea came. I didn't have the lottery ticket scratcher idea formed. It was just, I want something that forces us to do something new every single time we do it. So I had the idea, but then maybe 4 or 5 years go by. I never actually did anything with it. And I was actually just spending time with the Lord. And I wasn't thinking about anything. I wasn't thinking about an idea or movies or acting. And I just saw a picture of that book that I had open up, and each adventure was covered with like a lottery ticket scratcher material. Wow. And I thought, oh shit, that's an amazing idea. And so I just wrote it in my phone, scratch off adventure book. And then I went to school that day, and I was talking with my friends there, and I was like, man, I had this idea today about this book filled with adventures. And she like flipped out. She was like, that's an amazing idea. You should do that.
Do you know what I love? A lot of people don't have a story where the first person they tell their idea to, somebody supports.
That's true. Yeah.
So that's
Yeah, a
awesome.
lot of times we're like, oh.
And what's weird, if she would have shut the idea down and been like, oh yeah, that's cool,
Would have been nothing.
I probably wouldn't. It probably wouldn't have sparked that fire.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
No, it's absolutely. I'm so grateful for that. And so that's when I was like, okay, this is going to be something someday. I'm going to make this book. We're going to make it happen. But I didn't actually start building it until I got fired from my job.
This is what I love. This is how all good stories happen.
All startups, successful startups, start with somebody getting fired.
I started my first company because I got fired from the same industry.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
Hold on a second. Let me just add to that real quick, because we're in a culture right now
With
where a lot
tons
of
of
people
layoffs.
are layoffs and firings, and people are just like losing their own businesses that they've started. And there's a tomorrow. And there's a tomorrow with a lot of hope on it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Almost every good story starts with rock bottom too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because you lose so much fear because you've hit your greatest fears
Yeah.
at times. Oh, I just lost everything. I have nothing else to lose, and I'm still alive at the end of this.
Although
so why
I will
not
say,
risk?
with my clients, I often tell them, you should try risking before you hit rock bottom.
Yeah, totally.
You
I
should.
do. I do.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, you don't have to hit it. You could live life without hitting it.
Yeah.
Go try to hit rock bottom, everyone.
And I would say I was close to rock bottom, but I wasn't officially there.
Yeah, yeah.
But
And I
rock
wasn't
bottom
either.
didn't look scary from where I was.
Right.
You know?
You're
I
like,
was like,
it's right there.
it can't get too much worse. What is there? Bankruptcy and moving back home with my parents.
Right.
So, yeah.
And I think for me, money is never rock bottom for me. Even when I lost my job, I've always had this thing, oh, this money is money, whatever. And I think that's
a
actually
great belief.
Yeah, I think that's helped me be successful, is because I
Take the
never-
risks needed.
Yeah, I always hold it very loosely. Success and money is just, it's secondary. So
Love
Yeah,
that.
I just want to pause for that for a second. Like right there, belief system. Money's money, not a big deal.
right.
Yeah, because you're fearless in it, and because you believe that it comes and go, like you're not like chasing it. There's
not
not, a
grabbing,
belief
I'm not holding
system.
on, yeah.
Yeah.
There's not control or desperation probably.
Yeah, and I don't know why I'm that way.
Yeah.
To be honest, that's just, I've always been a little that way around money and even security. I never lock my doors. Which maybe that's not good.
That's not good to mention.
No, the one time you did lock the door, they broke into your car and stole your laptop.
Okay, I locked my door once because I was it looked like a bad area. Like going to a comedy show actually that his brother was doing. It was, it looked like a bad area, and there it goes. I locked it, got my window broken, and they stole my laptop. And I was like, man, I wish I hadn't locked my door. They wouldn't have broken my window.
That's exactly. Yeah. We're pointing it out because something that we've seen is behind every success story are belief systems that are in line with that. That has to be a belief that people have that they can do something, that they can make something, that there is success available to them. That those belief systems, whether or not they're like the most loudest or just a small whisper, those belief systems make way for us to see that stuff come to pass.
Yeah.
And so what I love is it's an interesting thing we had a friend who really is high up on Wall Street and has done a lot of things. And he says that he could like hear just the sound of money. He's like, I just can hear where it wants to go. I can hear what it wants to do. And it's just like his natural knack is just like he's tuned in with what money wants to say. And it'd be like he personalizes it like it's a person who like, I know where it looks to go to have fun.
It scratches its belly. It's like,
But it's the idea of, and ever since I heard that, I was like, okay, I want to reprogram my beliefs that money is easy. It's not hard. It is something that you can actually grow in your skill to learn and connect to. So I'm just saying it's a beautiful belief that you have.
Yeah.
it 100% makes all the difference to have that.
I started, I want to add to this too. I started befriending money. Like I started, like when he, the idea of personifying money as a person relationally, I was like, oh, money, you're a good friend. You're not elusive to me. You want to be close to me. You want to give me ways to get access to you. And so I started, that started healing all those fears. And now I'm like, oh, this is a friend, not an adversary, or not someone who's, stiff arming me. And a lot of people have that stiff arm idea, whether it's with money or it's other areas of their life, relationships, things like that. Like when they can adjust that belief system, then they can come into a connection with whatever it is they're wanting.
And I'll say even the proof to that whole concept is the second you start becoming a lot more successful in money, you get so much more successful in money because you've seen it happen. You understand that it's possible.
Right.
And so you believe.
It
believe
builds
it'll
your
happen.
faith.
Yeah. And that's even something I always told my salesman that I was training is under everything else, I can teach you a lot of concepts, but the number one thing that will allow you to sell is to believe that the other person is going to say yes.
Yeah.
If you believe they'll say yes, you'll do everything right to close the deal. Because they'll believe they should say yes, and they'll trust you. They'll trust that it's right. There's a bunch of different reasons why, but ultimately, if you believe they'll say yes, you got a 90% chance they're going to say yes.
And that's why a lot of entrepreneurs who, there's lots that make money, go bankrupt, make millions of dollars because they have decided, oh, I can do this. Like once they've seen it happen once, they know that they can do it again and again and again.
Yeah, and Warren Buffett says that your first million's the hardest. So,
Right.
But like your beliefs about money will always manifest. And I grew up in not a poor home, but definitely a home that struggled with money.
Yeah.
And there was always a belief where it's like whenever you got money, you were going to lose it eventually. And then you'd have to work really hard to get it again.
Yes.
And that was a really hard mindset to break. And it still is a mindset that's difficult to conquer, because but I do agree with once you start seeing a level of breakthrough, it does build that confidence to where you feel like I can do this again. If I lose it, I can do it again. And so, yeah.
But if you're not purposeful and intentional, because I heard Will Smith once interviewed that he still lies in bed at night, terrified that he's going to lose everything and lose. And so if you're not actually intentional to choose a belief system, as well as because he's made millions.
Yeah.
But if you don't also agree with
the externals didn't prove that it was safe and it was going to be okay because he hasn't yet chosen to go, I'm going to deal with the root that's hiding under this.
Yeah. And I think it's learning to let go of just control.
Yeah.
Right.
Because I can't control what happens to my money. Ultimately, I can make decisions that I feel are wise or unwise, but ultimately what's going to happen will happen. And just letting go of that, like I'm going to be fine regardless of what happens. If I lose $1 million on this deal, I'm going to be fine still.
Totally.
Absolutely. Okay, so you come up with this idea and then you see it in a vision and then you're like...
in a vision.
I had a vision.
From God. Straight from God.
And then you tell your friend, she's like, yeah. And then what?
So I get fired.
Yep.
And at this time I was inspecting skyscrapers for a living.
Oh.
That was my job. So I was a full-time acting student, and then I would travel to LA and San Francisco to take pictures of skyscrapers and fill out these reports. I was making a lot of money for my age.
Right.
It was the most money I had made, and I had been working that job for 3 years. And I remember thinking, if I lose this job, my life's gonna suck.
Yeah.
Like I don't have a college, education.
Right.
I didn't even graduate high school.
Wow.
Like I am somewhat lucky to have this job, but if I lose it, I'll figure out a way to hustle and make something else happen.
Yeah.
And so I always had kind of like a plan B, which plan B was to create like a photography studio company.
Oh, cool.
So I got
so interesting that photography got wrapped into this situation, actually.
Right.
Yeah, Polaroid camera. Yeah, it all comes together eventually. Yeah. No, so I got fired from the job, and I just had an emotional breakdown because I'm like, how can I survive as an artist if I don't have a job that's flexible and makes good money? I'm never going to get married because no girl wants to just date a broke, aspiring artist. And just
surprised.
all of these, and I just all
That's
this,
true.
all
A lot
this
of girl with
fear.
daddy issues. They're like, please bring on a broke, unaspiring artist.
Yeah, it's true, I guess.
I'm sorry, keep going.
No, but no, there's a lot of fear wrapped up in that job, a lot of, security wrapped up. And so when I lost it, I just went into entrepreneur mode, just went into my 3 Enneagram, just like, I'm going to achieve something. I'm going to make something. So I went to Best Buy and I started just like pulling cameras off the shelf to buy all the equipment for this photography company. And I saw the Polaroid camera sitting on a shelf.
Wow.
And this was an intense moment because I saw the camera and I felt the Holy Spirit say, stop what you're doing, buy that camera and start your book.
Whoa.
And it was so
directional shift.
It was so direct. Yeah, it was so direct. It was so clear. And I just left my shopping cart there filled with all the stuff, grabbed the Polaroid. I'm an actor. Everything's dramatized.
Pushed it into the wall.
I threw the camera at the cash register. So yeah, I grabbed the camera, went to the cash register, used a credit card, bought the $70 toy.
Wow.
And went home, and I put the camera on the table. I grabbed this little scrapbook, and I picked up my phone, and I was like, I'm going to record this just in case this becomes a multi-million-dollar company someday. Mm-hmm. So I turned on the camera. I was like, hey guys, this is Bryant. This is the first day of creating, and you can see this on YouTube actually. Like this is the first day of creating this idea for the Scratch Off Adventure book is what I was calling it back then. And that's how it started. I just started Googling scratch off material. I had it mailed to my house. I started grabbing journals. I had a friend named Emily who was at BCA as well. And she agreed to helping me make the prototype. Oh. And so she partnered with me. And for like a month and a half, we spent 80 hours a week.
Wow.
At least it became an obsession. Yeah. Just day in, day. I'd wake up, drink coffee, start making the prototype. She'd come over, we'd start cranking out ideas. And I don't know why she agreed to do this. She wasn't getting paid for it. She now owns 1% of the company and she's getting, making 6 figures just from that 1%. So she's well off now. But at the time she had no real buy-in. She was just like, I love this idea. I know it'll be successful if you're making this. So I'm gonna buy in and do this with you.
I love that.
And yeah, I to this day without her, it wouldn't have.
Shared a lot of people who were like, yes.
Yeah.
Were there people who were like, meh, about the idea?
Well, it's a cute idea. So when I'm telling my ambitious, maybe slightly successful entrepreneur friends about I'm going to make a scratch off activity book and turn it into a company, yeah, people were like, I can read people pretty well, and they're like, oh yeah, that's pretty cool. So what are you doing next? It was they never took it serious. Mm-hmm. And I had maybe 2 or 3 friends that were like, this is a golden ticket idea. Make sure you go for it. But yeah, I had lots of friends who were like, oh yeah, that's cool. That's cute.
You had that one guy that said
there was a few people
will not succeed.
Yeah, there was one investor I called. This was a little bit further down the line when me and Ben had already partnered up, but I was calling people asking for investment, asking for money. And this guy in particular, I was like, hey, I have this book idea. I launched a Kickstarter. You can go see it online. Would you be willing to invest? And he said, the fact that it hasn't gone viral yet is proof that nobody really wants this product. And he said, also, product companies don't really succeed because you're always having to come out with a new product every single year. He said, if I gave you money, you would lose it all before the end of the year.
Whoa! Did you send him a nice note that said "suck it" with a picture with a copy of the challenge?
Tell everyone his name.
Yeah. We'll say name. I posted if he would have given me $10,000,
right, he
would have been a multimillionaire.
Yeah.
Right. And so for me, I'm like, whatever. I'm not gonna call him and be like, hey, guess what you missed out on, dude. But I cried when I got off the phone with him. I was in tears because it was like, wow, all of these months I've been dedicating myself to building this stupid product that I'm just gonna end up going bankrupt for. Ugh. And so yeah, there were a few people in and out like that kind of contributed some negative stuff, but the obsession was just too strong to really stop
Love that.
my momentum. But yeah, it was, but I would say I was lucky to have surrounded myself with enough people who were sending like positive energy and like, I actually think this could work. So
That's amazing.
That's so important too. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just crazy. You think about people that have, how many amazing ideas are there out there that are never going to come to pass, and how important is it that you have supportive voices around you when they happen, because that, I mean, it's true. Yeah. You were, you're a driven person. You became obsessive around it and all that stuff. But even with that, like if the very first 2 people you told about it were like, nothing would, you would have just thrown it away.
Right.
It wouldn't become a thing.
And I think that's even for people listening should be like, oh, when I have people come around me and get excited about stuff, how can I even get into their shoes and get excited with them? Even if I don't understand it, how can I actually get excited with their journey? And be like,
You know who's failed at this?
You. Hold on.
100%.
Listen up to what they're saying, Abby.
Listen, I am changed.
Do you want to talk about your fail? Do you want to talk about your fail?
So Justin, when he had like a moment of inspiration, like you, about writing his book, The Tree of Life, where he was like touching this tree, and all of a sudden he saw the whole story unfold, and he told me about it, and I was like, yeah, I think that book's already been written. That was literally my response. I think that's like called The Giving Tree.
I'm like, no, it's not the freaking Giving Tree. I know what I have in my head.
Thank God he didn't get discouraged by me. But I wanted to say it because I have been that person that I'm super logical. And so I'm trying to think through. And I grew up in a family where that happened to all of my ideas, that they were constantly like, I called it balloon poppers, who just anytime you had an idea, they popped the balloon and told you all of the reasons why it wouldn't work. So it was like in my DNA to do that. But having learned the power of it, we'll never do that again.
The gift to me, though, was inside of the back of my head. I was like, F you, I'm going to write this book.
Yeah,
it inspired you to prove someone wrong.
Yeah, I'm an ace
That's
challenger.
exactly what he needed.
Yeah. What's funny though, just to give you credit, on the back end, because it's been a couple of years since it got released, and I was sick and dying when it released, so I didn't get a chance to promote it really. It did do well. I mean, we sold about 5,000 copies, and but on the back end, I decided to do the audiobook recently. And that's coming out here in July on Amazon.
So excited for that, by the way.
Audible.
Yeah.
But I got to, when I went to do that, you got behind me, you're like, babe, I know that there's something magical on this book, on the story, on what's going to happen with it. Whatever you need to do to put towards it, do whatever you have to. I'm so for you. And I've seen how you've so championed me in the process.
I may have been dull, but I learned. Anyway, I thought that was important to mention for people who have either been because I also think sometimes the older you get, the more skeptical you can become because you think that fear is wisdom.
From life and
so just wanting to infuse that into parents and people, adults, when you hear young people with ideas that don't necessarily make sense to you
at all,
but still empowering them.
Yeah, and I appreciate, candor. I appreciate authentic feedback. And so, and there's a fine line there when, I have friends pitch me ideas all the time, and it's like, do you want my authentic feedback? I think that's a horrible idea.
Totally.
But if there's something in you saying this is something real, then don't listen to me. And that was a huge thing. When I had this idea, I felt like the Lord said, don't share this idea with any of your technology friend entrepreneurs.
Wow.
And he said, they're not going to understand it. The first friend that I shared it with, who was in the tech industry, he said, unless this has an app, it's not going to work. And in my mind, I was like, no, this is going to work because people are craving something authentic. They want something that can touch. Yeah, this will get them disconnected from technology and actually connected in real life. And that's one of the reasons it's so successful. But if I would have surrounded myself with people in the tech industry who were successful, they would have said, no, you're focusing your energy in the wrong direction. You need to be prioritizing an app, or technology, because that's where everything's moving. And and so I don't know. There's a fine line there between straight feedback and just going
feeding delusion.
Exactly. Yeah.
You're like, no, this feels like super delusion.
Totally.
But
yeah.
Well, I want to ask this. So partnership, because at some point, the two of you, somewhere inside of you, Ben, you were the guy that said yes inside of this and came into partnership and brought your talents to it. What was that? Let me hear from you, Ben. Or did Bryant approach you? Or
Well, it kind of
I did approach you.
happened together a little bit.
Well, I approached you first, though.
Oh.
I was trying to subtly get his money. So, because I was like, I was like, hey, Ben, you want to meet with me so I can show you this book so you can give me advice on it? And we met like at the View 202,
Yeah,
and
I
I'm just
remember
like
that.
telling him how the book's going to be successful and all these things. And I'm like, any advice? And
Yeah.
Yeah.
This was early. This is very early on. You didn't have
first prototype.
You didn't have a prototype.
Yeah, it was the crappy prototype.
Oh, that really ugly.
Yeah.
Okay.
The one that, everybody saw.
So, okay, he had already told me. You'd already told me about the concept, which I was already in love with, and so I was your biggest fan already. Which ironically, that first Kickstarter, I was the only friend that bought it. I think.
No, I had
You
200
Two
people
friends.
Bible.
No, the very first one.
The first Kickstarter, 200 people bought.
Oh, maybe it was in our friend group.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
in our
okay.
friend group. Yeah,
I was disappointed in our friend group. Anyway,
yeah. Nobody in Reading bought it.
but anyway, so what I was saying is, I already loved the idea. When you came to me at View 202, you said you wanted some advice. And then it became apparent at some point in that conversation that you actually were like, kind of want some money.
100%. Yeah.
I very much ignored the fact that I knew that's what you were doing. And,
Love that.
and I just started giving you advice. But yeah, at that point, it wasn't ready. And at that point, it was still just friends, I think. There was no couples.
Yeah, I had the idea for a couples, but the couples was just an extra throw-on idea. We didn't realize that would be the sugar daddy of our whole operations,
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just the friends idea. It was a universal one. And I think at that time, it was just for the city of Reading. I don't think I had scaling in my mind. It was, we're going to make a book for the city of Reading to buy,
Right.
filled with Reading adventures, and then I'll travel to this city and do it, and this city and do
yeah.
it. And it wasn't like a universal edition
could
that
do
could
it
actually
anywhere.
scale.
And
Exactly.
in my mind at that time, it was like, I love this. I want one. I didn't see it being quite scalable yet, and I thought there were still some pieces that were needed. And at that time, I was busy, so I wasn't trying to jump on ship yet. But yeah,
When did you guys actually merge?
we actually merged. After BCA was done, he came to work for me at my company. Yeah.
I called him when I was
Really?
about to go bankrupt, and I was like, and I literally, in our meeting, I said, hey, listen, I need a job for like a year. I'm not passionate about this job, but I need money.
way to sell
I
yourself.
was like, but I'm a good salesman, and I'll do a good job, and in a year, I'll leave and start this business. I was like, are you cool with me?
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I knew he'd be a good salesman. But so, yeah, I mean, there's a whole story around even that, because I joined BCA because I was like, oh, my company's solid without me. All this stuff didn't turn out to be true.
Turns out you were the glue.
Right at that time. When I came back, it was starting to fail. Our old marketing was failing. We just had a lot of stuff that was going wrong, and so I was coming back trying to rescue the company and finding new marketing that would work. And there was a lot of drama around that. A lot of me being lied to about some certain things by people that by marketers and things like that. But it was
that
very
painful?
Yeah, it was a very, very stressful time. Even in that, I still had that mindset of like, whatever. I know it's going to come through. I know I'm going to pull it through. I always had that mindset, and I don't know why, because I was borrowing money. I was getting like horrible high interest loans just so I could,
No.
just so I could experiment on another marketing, aspect. And it was bad. I had employees that I had to pay, and, I was like spinning plates, and they could all
Trying
just
to
topple
take
down.
from here
Yeah.
to put to here.
Oh,
to,
I was playing a very dangerous game of taking from here to put to here, and I was like, I know at any point, all I need is for this thing to be successful, and then boom, it's gonna come back really strong. So he came on, and he was there in the midst of a really trying time of angry people calling because they got marketing that was not very good marketing.
Yeah.
Basically telling people that they applied for some sort of thing that they didn't. Anyway, it's a long story, but point being, during that time, it just kept getting worse and worse. And at one point, when things were the worst, after I had already partnered. Okay, so the partnering decision came in the midst of that, where things were not.
Brian's like,
going
hey,
well.
I have an idea. I want to merge my company with this sinking entrepreneur friend of mine.
Well, no, but see, I didn't know the extent to which the company was in trouble.
Sinking, yeah.
And so I was on the phone talking to his customers, and in the back of the building, I had a room for the Adventure Challenge. I had one employee, and she was a graphic designer, and she was making the couples book.
Right.
And so I would be talking on the phone, and then I'd run back to see what she was doing, and then I'd run back to talk on the phone, and then, but yeah, it was definitely a crazy time. But during that time I actually started to get some interest from different investors in the book, because I had launched a second Kickstarter, and it was live, and I was a few different investors were like, hey, we want to invest in your book. None of them felt like a good fit. A lot of them felt like they wanted to take the idea and create the
Right.
company and leave me as just like the idea guy.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, I want to be part of building something.
Love that.
That's
That
great.
is ballsy.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it was, I think if I didn't have Ben, I probably still would have gone with them, because I was desperate enough to
You
that
saved the
point.
company.
I was desperate enough to that point to where I would have taken that. But Ben had mentioned like, oh, well, maybe I would like to invest too, when he started hearing about these other investors who were interested. And so when I was in the meeting with these investors, I was thinking, if I can get Ben on board, I don't want these guys. I want
Yes.
Ben. And so, yeah, I went to Ben and was like, hey, Ben, what do you think about give me
Which
some
is
money?
crazy because your business is is kind of a dumpster fire a little
Oh,
bit.
yeah, I didn't
happening at
have
the
the
moment.
money.
So you don't-
But he told me he had
I
money.
had the money.
He was like, how much? Can we say the amount on how much you were gonna give for the amount?
Sure. Well, okay, but it was a different situation. I had some money. It all needed to go towards marketing
Right.
for my company.
Right.
But me being the
Optimistic.
optimistic and also the strategic maneuvering guy that I'm like, oh, I'm going to figure out a way to whatever. I was like, okay, I'm going to try to figure out a way where I can get in and in partnership with this company that he's doing here, while also not tanking my company. I was like, how can I possibly
Which
do
is
this?
super risky at the time because you don't have any proven track record, so to say.
Oh, it was very risky.
and so that goes to say how much he believed in you.
Yeah.
And
Oh, I did. I totally believed in Bryant.
believed in you,
I
cared
totally
about
believed
you,
him.
whatever.
I saw the way he even networked. I saw the
Wow.
way that he was a connector. I saw the way that he just had the ambition. And
you
and
didn't
all
buy
this
the
stuff.
idea. You bought into the guy. Really,
I bought
in a
into the
lot
guy.
of ways,
I
yeah.
wanted.
He bought Bryant.
I bought him. I bought you. But yeah, I 100%. We talk about that. I love the idea, but I would not have done it if I did not believe in him as a person. Now, obviously, you know, I also
They're crying again.
Stop it.
as a business person, I did see, you know, I could see through to the things that needed to happen, that he hadn't been there yet on these things. So I saw a great opportunity to lend what I had. Yeah, I was racking my brain because I was like, this is the worst possible time for me to be out of money, because if this had come up a year ago, I mean, I would have had, you know, all I needed and I would have been comfortable. I could have invested in this,
Right.
and boom, it would have been fine. But it just happened to come at a really hard time. And so
what'd you do?
I said, hey, what I can do is I can make money available to you when it's needed. Because what we needed was we needed money for inventory. We needed
Right.
money for, you know, a few other things, start the LLC, just different things like that. But inventory was the biggest need, inventory and marketing.
Right.
But marketing can be, you know, you get pretty instant returns on that. So to me, inventory was the biggest need. And I just said, hey, you don't need all this yet, but I will make a total of 40. Was it 40?
40. Yeah.
I'll make a total of 40,000 available to you over a 6 month period.
And
And
you
then
just
I was like,
crossed your fingers
Yeah,
that you'd
and,
have
I was
that,
like- and I said I'll also make myself available to you,
which is awesome.
Yeah, and,
Empowering, with
yeah,
all
and
your help.
But I also said I'm not going to intrude and take it away from you. I'll make myself available. And what ended up happening was I basically gave a total of 15? Was it
15,000, yeah.
15,000 was all he got from me. He was supposed to get 40 total, but he also ended up getting a lot more of me as a partner. So what I did was, while you were working on the shop local stuff or the map thing, that was a headache and very frustrating. But during that, I just put everything I had into, because I did see, I saw how things were going bad in the other thing, and I was like, this has to go well.
This has to
I've
work.
literally started putting all my eggs in
Yes,
this.
it became both of our Hail Mary.
It did.
Yeah.
And what
Wow.
I
love
didn't
that.
get with, because I didn't get the full 40,000, but I honestly don't give a crap about that, because I got Ben's full attention.
Genius.
And we both sold out to it. It was just not a 9 to 5. It was 18-hour work days and being stressed at the office, lots of tears, lots of stressed out
Who
days.
cries more?
I cry more.
I think so. Yeah.
I cry more now. I've had some
In
family-
front of each other, I think you've cried more, right? I've
Yeah.
cried in front of you twice, maybe.
When?
Once in the office when I was stressed out and I cried.
I don't remember you crying.
But
That's
yeah,
nice.
Yeah.
This is what real business partners
Exactly.
do. They cry.
You have to cry together.
I've had family
I cry
tragedies.
with my business partner
Aw.
also.
Oh, that's
Regularly.
That's good.
She yells
I
at
would
her
imagine.
business partner.
I yell like,
Abuse.
I'm going to go take my own time out now. That's how I yell. Okay,
Yeah.
so you're all in now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm all in, and
And now you're bringing your sales, marketing, business. How do we make this scalable?
right.
Like, what is it? What is the magic sauce you brought?
Yeah, all those things: sales, marketing, problem solving is I feel a huge strength of mine. Is I always will see a situation and I'll know that that's not the final answer. We're going to figure something else. An example of problem solving is the very first Christmas that we were selling. Like, we started way too late. In fact, we didn't get the website live until mid Black Friday,
Oh gosh.
mid Black Friday weekend. So we actually missed the Friday, which, it turns out that that's not even important, because you don't want to start your advertising in the middle of that weekend. That's when you
Right.
clean up from all the cheaper advertising you did the rest of the year. But, there was a situation where we couldn't get products by Christmas that year. And I
Oh,
was
gosh.
I don't want to miss Christmas. This could really help propel us into being able to get some inventory. And so we found that we could get books expedited for $6 a book,
Oh,
which is very expensive.
very.
Oh, it's super expensive.
Yeah. But what I was like, if we look at it, it's better than the alternative of not selling at all.
Right.
Yep.
And so I was like, let's do that. But what we can do is we can also offer a pre-order for Valentine's Day, which is when things would arrive, late January.
Right.
So we can offer that for $6 cheaper. And what we'll do is we'll just raise the price of the book by $6
Right.
and make it available to people. And if they really want it by Christmas, then they just pay for that expedited fee.
Right. That's great.
It's great.
So we did that, and most people ordered the Christmas version. But what that concept started to enable was for us to realize we could sell this on a pre-order basis. If we hadn't done that, we would never have would never have
Right.
sold it as a pre-order.
And because of that, we never needed to get capital from other investors, because people were buying it, ahead of time, and then we were getting all that capital to actually put right back
Right.
into getting inventory.
And so, through solving that problem, it made us realize that we can sell this as a pre-order, and even after Valentine's Day, the next year, we were like, let's just try a pre-order, even though it's March, and just say, hey, get this 6 months, or get this 6
Smart.
weeks from now, get this 2 months from now, whatever. And if we hadn't
So
been
now
able to,
you don't need the finances
didn't need it.
because you're
Yeah.
having them help
Yeah.
invest.
And that was everybody that talks to us, they're like, how on earth did you scale so fast without any funding?
Wow.
With a product. It's not, it's
Totally.
not a concept, it's a product. So it's literally can all be a credit to pre-selling.
Wow.
That enabled us to immediately, without a product in our hands, get millions of dollars coming in.
That's
Wow.
that's what say this. That's what a lot of my action figure companies that I come from do.
Really?
Is like, so they're not sitting on trying to have all the capital that they have to get. They're like pre-orders, and a year later I have action figures in my hands, and they've taken all that in. It's brilliant.
For those people who have the ability to wait for a whole year for an action figure.
Oh yeah, right. So that ended up being huge, but along the way, there's a lot of problem solving. When you do something like this, there's a million little things like that equate to something huge. And even with advertising, I knew nothing about the ad center on Facebook, but ended up just figuring that out and problem solving some things that made it scalable.
The whole thing was just a massive, giant problem.
It was.
That was just always like busting our brains to figure stuff out.
Because every time you'd make it through one, there'd be another, and then another.
Yeah.
And that's entrepreneurship.
And so if you would have given up, then you would have missed it. But there's probably multiple times you could have given up.
Oh yeah. It didn't even look scalable at first. It didn't look scalable at first until I got in there and monkeyed around with Ad Center and figured out some things, tried some things, and the person that we had doing that, didn't know to do that.
Right.
And they had experience with it.
Yeah.
So literally the problem solving aspect was huge because monkeying around with that stuff made me find some things like, I think we could do this if we switch this. And then suddenly the next day it went from not scalable, literally a 1-to-1 ratio of return on ad spend to a 4-to-1 ratio, literally overnight.
Wow.
And so suddenly that's scalable. Suddenly now we can push it. And so there's a million things like that, when you're an entrepreneur, that's the name of the game. It's figuring out, it's being optimistic in the face of adversity, which is going to make you believe that I can find a solution to this.
Right.
What I want to say is that the two of you in the journey didn't have all the answers when you started out. Bryant, you didn't have all the answers when you just got an idea. You just said, all right, I'm going to buy this Polaroid camera. And along the way, it was just trusting in what you hear internally and trusting in what you, even where Ben, you were like, I don't know, things are falling apart over here. I just believe in him. I'm going to jump in. I'm going to go on the journey with him. You didn't have the big business plans. You didn't have everything figured all out. And a lot of people, they're so paralyzed by not having all the answers. And it reminds me of this Father's Day, I watched The Field of Dreams. And The Field of Dreams, for those who haven't watched it, it's Kevin Costner plays in it. It's about this guy at 36 years old who buys a farm, and which is completely out of character for what he's doing with his life and needs to change everything up. And while he's working on the farm, he gets this voice that he hears internally that says, if you build it, he will come. And he kind of sees a vision of a baseball field. So he plows under a whole quarter of his crops, which is going to eliminate most of his money. And he goes on this journey of having to follow the still small whisper and doesn't fully know why it's happening or what it's going to be unto. And along the way, there are people who can't see. The baseball players who come to, ultimately these baseball players come back from the dead to play on the field, and it becomes this heartwarming story and stuff.
It's a heartwarming ghost story.
The ghost story that haunt him in his field. But the point of it is oftentimes like that, people couldn't have vision for what he was doing, but something inside of him said yes. So he began to just trust and take each step forward into it. And at points in the journey, it looked like it was all going to fall apart for him. And then the next piece of the pie showed up for him. And I believe that the whole universe is conspiring on behalf of us to help us to come alive and to find freedom and to become successful and to see our dreams be made manifest. And so as we're listening to this, there's some of you out there that need to go, what is the small whisper inside of me? And what if I just decided to jump even when people can't see it? And I kept believing when I felt like I need to believe in this. There is hope for people out there inside of this story. You don't have to have all the answers to your life right now while you're struggling by or looking at the next step in 2020 while the world's a dumpster fire. You don't have to have all the answers.
Yeah, one of the things that I think is the most important is you don't have to know the how.
Right.
Because if you guys would have had to know the how, nothing would have happened. But it's through the process actually even that you get the answers you need from some of the roadblocks. It comes up. Mm-hmm. Like you just said, the roadblock actually empowered your entire business because of you finding the pieces that you need along the way. And so there is such a great gifting of strategy and being able to see how things will connect. But there's also this thing of just trust going on the journey and then grinding. Like Justin, when he was talking about you guys this morning, he was saying there's a couple things that I think they're so good at. They have beliefs that it could happen and that they're powerful, and they also grind. Like they're work
willing to
hard.
grind.
They push and they push and they push and they push until they see a door open. And I think that's a beautiful thing. I also love the partnership that you guys have. I was like, when we were driving over here, I was like, God, send us a Ben for our business. We don't need investors, but I just love the ideation and the creativity and the marketing and the way you guys have melded your business together to see success. Very few people can partner together well. How have you guys, this is probably the last thing I wanted to ask. How have you guys worked on fostering a partnership that creates a good environment instead of like wanting to kill each other?
Well, I mean, we go to Justin for the
That's right.
The good stuff. I will say it was such a good pairing because I would not have wanted. There's so many ways that he's the partner that I would have wanted to have, and it's literally not because of just his ideas. He has so many ways that he's so good at with so many marketing things. He's so good with so many. He just has a knack for knowing what people will want.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah, and so.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, I just wanted to put that out there.
I would say both of you feel completely strong and capable on your own. And
Right.
I think
And
that
I think
actually
that that's
both
what's
of you
beautiful about the
would have
partnership.
built powerful businesses separately.
Yeah.
Like I think you both would be successful wildly no matter what you both did, because you're both intelligent, go-getters, you know how to grind, you know how to create, you're both problem solvers. It's a super powerful thing. So it's crazy. I think that's why I'm so amazed by your partnership, is that normally there's like one person who's pretty much awesome and the other person is kind of like the Sherlock Holmes and Watson, although Watson's a really big badass. But you guys are two very powerful people coming together. I think that's why I'm like amazed at the collaboration.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I trust Bryant's gauge for almost anything. When we talk about, there's things that I love collaboration. I like to bounce things off of when we're making decisions. And as far as a gauge for knowing what's going to work, what's not going to work, Bryant's like amazing. He's amazing at naming things. He's amazing at copy. He's amazing at so many things. So as far as partnership, that's been such a fun journey for us. And
Fun journey.
I mean,
It's been the most growing journey of the whole process.
we get to learn, because we get to learn to be very vocal when something's going on with us, and that's the challenge of any partnership. That I think keeping short accounts is the most important aspect of any partnership, and that's what we have, strived to do.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Benefit of the doubt is the other aspect of that has been so important, is that if I always trust that Bryant has my best interest in mind, and he always trusts that I have his best interest in mind, even in times where we might get tunnel vision and just be looking at ourselves, if I trust that if he takes a step back, he really is for me, then that's going to color the way that I approach those things, because I'll be like, no, I know that he has my best interest, so I'm going to assume that he didn't do that with that intention.
It's amazing.
And even though he did something
That's
that
gonna
felt
be
like
real
her.
helpful in marriage.
That is key in long-lasting.
That's going to really help you later on.
That's key in long-lasting friendships, partnerships, marriages. Is like, I have one relationship with someone really close to me where when they have problems, where we have an exchange where they get kind of stirred up and frustrated with something, they go back to, but what is Justin's character and nature? Let me remember who he actually is inside of this and how he's actually for me. And now let me approach him from that lens. And that has caused our relationship to grow so deep, because like you said, we're believing the best about each other, even though there's messes and mistakes inside of relationship that we all have.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on how it's worked?
Well, I mean, a lot of people will say that, you shouldn't go into business with your best friend, you know, like it's just a
but were you
dumpster
guys
fire waiting
best
to happen.
friends when you
We
went
were
into
we were
business?
pretty close friends.
We were getting
Yeah.
closer and closer.
I hung out with him more than anybody else.
Aw.
So yeah. But you know, I think because we were aware of that, we didn't view conflict as what was going to tear us apart, but an invitation for us to get closer together.
good.
And so whenever there was conflict, in the very moment at times, it wasn't like, ooh, this is a chance to become more intimate and closer. But, you know, I think when we both step back and we're like, he has my best interest at heart and I have his best interest at heart. And even the thing we're arguing about, we both want it to be successful. We're just coming about it from different angles and now we're butting heads.
Right.
So when we can put those two things together and sit down and be like, all right, I know you actually want what's best for the company and what's best for me. I want what's best for the company and for you. It was easy to kind of let go of the pride aspect because that can get in the way of the conflict. Because I want to be right just because I want to be right.
Right.
And, you know, it's like, actually, this is what's best for the company. This is me lowering my guard and saying, I care about you more than this book right now.
Wow.
And so, yeah, I think in that aspect, it's been fun because we've been able to grow a lot relationally, and that's been able to go into other relationships that we've had because of the intensity of the conflict and the frequency at the very beginning that we had to have.
Oh, you guys are
debates.
in a business marriage.
Yeah, business
We are.
marriage
We
without the real good benefits of it.
But you have some good benefits.
We do.
Just
Oh, yeah.
different
Yeah.
than marriage.
Absolutely.
I will say it is a huge opportunity that we've got to the invitation to grow and learn through this whole process. That is literally a luxury, and that's something that a lot of people don't get. It's just another opportunity to learn, and even with the business from a leadership standpoint, there's so much in that that's literally, hey, we get the opportunity to grow and learn in ways that most people don't get to do because they don't get to be thrust in that position. But I wanted to share one thing
before you share that. What I love about this whole episode is if you look at challenges as invitations, like. Yeah. Losing your jobs, invitation, having no money for capital to give him, invitation for a new strategy, like all the having friends who aren't fun, invitation. Just kidding. But like that's how you guys have postured your life, and I really like that.
Yeah.
I wanted to share one thing real quick. When we talk about relationship, one thing that Bryant did that was very impressed me a lot, and it just showed me that the relationship meant a lot to him. And it's a very hard thing to do. We were having one of the hardest fights that we'd had that I can remember. I think it started just because of some couches in this room, some old couches. Do you remember the day?
Is this good water or?
No, it's in here.
Oh, here, I don't remember.
You don't remember that? I remember it. I was going through a lot at the time. But we got in a fight, and he ended up leaving really upset. And I was like, not sure what to do here. He left really upset, and he sent me a text afterwards that said, I'm really upset right now. But I just want you to know that I still love you. And
wow.
And it literally right after he left. And it was not one of those easy times to do that. It was one of those times where everything's in you is screaming, I hate that person and all that stuff. And he left, and he sent that at a time that I was not expecting it. I was like, this is going to take a long time and a lot of talking and a lot of explaining for us to get to the bottom and figure this out. But literally that one statement that he made just completely disarmed everything.
Wow.
And I sent him the same thing back. And literally from that point, everything that we talked about around that subject was 100% different because it didn't have that trigger and all that stuff fueling a horrible thing.
You guys,
That
we're
is
going to have an
incredible,
episode
Bryant.
with you just talking through
Our relational
marriage.
stuff.
Yeah,
Business
you guys have
marriage.
so much good gold to say about it.
Yeah.
I love it. Well,
so powerful.
It's been so inspiring for me to hear. So inspiring about having a dream and putting legs to it. Like actually, like I feel you could have ignored so many nudges.
Yeah.
Like following the divine inspiration and then actually, spending 80 hours for months creating something well, for probably longer than months, but like going after it, talking to all of your people, pushing for it, and finding people to create with, and even like your non-ego of involving people on the journey with you.
So powerful, Bryant.
And so much of the vision and wisdom and watching both of you guys at the end of your past path and finding inspiration for the new. I was just listening to the whole story being like, it's so hopeful. It's so hopeful for everybody. It doesn't really matter where you're at and what dead ends you're at. You could be getting the things at this dead end that are needed to pave the path forward for you. So I felt really hopeful, and I'm really glad you guys were on.
Yeah, you guys.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thanks for opening up about your story, sharing, and we'd love to have you guys on again in the future here.
Yeah, we love it.
Yeah, we'll try to get you triggered at each other.
Get us into a fight.
Yeah. And then we'll show our skills.
We're excited.
Yeah. Hey, love you both.
Love you.
Thank you.
And everybody, if you got anything out of this episode, hope, joy.
You definitely did.
Yeah, you did. So rate, review, subscribe, and share. Go out and share it with people that need to hear this message right now in this season. We'd love for you to do that. And check out the Adventure Challenge. Where can they check it out at?
theadventurechallenge.com.
That's pretty
Really
easy.
hard to remember.
Can they see the video of you on there?
On Instagram, you can see the video of me and Ben both doing a date together.
Yeah, you'd have to scroll down a bit, but
Okay.
yeah, it was
Founder's date.
That's
Aw.
great.
Yeah.
Also, and if you don't know about it, which you probably don't, but Brian over here has a podcast himself called The Fail Journal.
Ooh.
And
Yes.
it's all about his journey of failings and how failure is a friend and how it actually throws your life forward to be in relationship with failure. And I had the opportunity to partake in 2 episodes, one of which I interviewed him on, and we might have that on The Connected Life in the future. But you guys got to go check him out over at The Fail Journal.
Also, all you single ladies,
All you single
hit
ladies.
them up.
All you single
Instagram.
ladies.
Just what kind of information would you like to know? Their hobbies. We should just get a survey.
Are they
going.
fun?
Are they
Are
fun?
they fun?
And do they handle conflict well?
Yeah, great. That is great.
Yeah.
Perfect.
All right, everybody. Thanks for listening, and peace out.